Next one, we have our moderator now, Mr. Agus Tjandra. So he has studied in 1993 until 1997 at University of Bina Nusantara and got the Bachelor of MIS, and also in 2013 until 2015 studied in Sekolah Tinggi Theologia Sunergo, and then got a Master of Theology, and then also in 2015 until 2017 studied in Sekolah Tinggi Theologia Ikat Doctor in Ministry. And then his work experiences are in 2017 being a present dosen and tim penguji doktoral S3 di Universitas Bima Nusantara, and also in 2008 until 2017 being a CEO at www.lojai.com, and also 2019 until recently as a CEO at PT Solusi Bijak Indonesia. So I have read all the speakers and also moderators' CV. Now I will be giving it to our amazing moderator now, Dr. Agus Tjandra, as the head of Ecosystem Support AFPI and CEO Saku Ceria. So Dr. Agus Tjandra, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Lisa. It's very good moment now. So, good afternoon for every speakers, and we start with the first. Selamat siang, good afternoon, Pak Munawar. How are you today?
Selamat siang, Pak.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for joining this panel. Yeah, building a collaborative fintech ecosystem. Talking about the ecosystem is very interesting. Can you share a little bit more detail about the collaborative fintech ecosystem to us so we can have some insight from the regulators, Pak Munawar?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Pak Agus, Pak Bimalaga, Pak Ibu Sarli, Pak apa kabar, Pak Henry, dan thank you for inviting us to share our thought and policy related to our regulation, certainly in terms of financial inclusion and ecosystem. Let me share a slide, Pak Agus. I will share this slide, and I will deliver this within 3 minutes, maybe, and I try to give a big picture how significant is fintech lending in boosting financial inclusion in Indonesia, because the topic that's given to me related to the financial inclusion and ecosystem. Talking about the financial inclusion index, based on the OJK survey in 2019, the financial literacy index was 38.3%, and the financial inclusion index was 76.9%. This financial inclusion index is greater than the government's target of 75%. And in 2025, according to the presidential regulation of 2020 concerning Strategi Nasional Keuangan Inklusif, our government target is 90% of the financial inclusion index. This means that 90% of adult people in Indonesia have access to financial products and services that are provided by financial institutions. Look at the right side. Based on the graph, user of the fintech lending more than 44 billion in 2020, and the latest data in February 2021, the number of users increased more than 46.8 million user accounts. User accounts consist of lenders and borrowers accounts. The numbers of the numbers of users increase every year. Look at the data from 2017, 2019, 2018 until last year, the number increased. For some users, a transaction with a P2P lending industry is the first transaction with a financial service institution. This shows that the presence of the P2P lending industry has been making financial inclusion in Indonesia better. How about the next? OJK expect that P2P industry enter into unpacked so that its role in financial inclusion will be more significant. We encourage the P2P platform to access, especially to remote areas and outside Java. As you know, that we have a draft of OJK regulation that we put to provision related to the disbursement onto the productive loan and disbursement outside Java. And the second, we ask the P2P platform to enter to the sectors where banks and other financial institutions have obstacles, like not only banking, but also, for example, multi-finance. They may have an obstacle to enter to the MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises sectors, and agricultural sector and other sectors. They have an obstacle because they have a limitation to do it. The next slide shows you about the P2P lending ecosystem. I simplify the P2P ecosystem. You may find other version. I divide it onto 4 parts: governments or regulators, users, business support, and soft business. Government or regulators including OJK, Indonesia Central Bank, Ministry of Communication and Information, Ministry of Home Affairs, and etc. Business support institutions have been providing services to P2P like digital signature, virtual, and as account from banking industry, and also insurance, credits, and the others. To increase the contribution of P2P lending industry, P2P platform must focus on what types of business can be generated through sources of business. We can look at the right side of the picture. In addition to the e-commerce and MSMEs, P2P platform can also extend the funding to the agriculture, as I mentioned before, fisheries sectors, and cooperate together with the industrial sectors, organization or association. We know that many platforms are already working with e-commerce. The event this morning, AFPI MOU with IDEA. This is very good. Appreciate it very much. We encourage to work with the association, the other association as well. Sometimes I imagine like this. AFPI operates with payment association. For example, AFPI can start a pilot project with for example, all the transactions in Pasar Jaya in Jakarta are cashless. I mean that all the transactions are cashless, and funding for both sellers can be acquired through P2P platform. This is a closed-loop ecosystem. I think AFPI can try to express whether it's possible to do by collaborating with other association. The last slide.
Ngomong sejarah asli. Setelah itu kita ngomong.
Okay. The last slide. How about the OJK support for extension of collaboration in ecosystem? Yes, OJK fully support P2P industry to collaborate with the other industry in the ecosystem. As you know that we are currently in the process of issuing the OJK number 77 in 2016. Pak Bambang mentioned before, draft of the regulation, we put some provisions related to partnership P2PL. where P2PL can collaborate with third parties in business operation. Platform can acquire fee from this collaboration. Does not strictly regulate the terms in the terms of P2P platform. OJK only regulate on principle-based approach. As you know that there is regulatory base, there is a principle-based approach, and we choose principle-based approach for the P2P industry. And the platform must comply with the regulation in general. Number second, about the exploring new business. As you know that Indonesia still has a business funding gap. The need for funding in Indonesia is still huge. There are some research about this, and P2P lending platform have to explore the businesses by cooperating with other parties. Collaborating can be done through industry association or directly with companies. P2P platform can create funding with business schemes that never imagined before. In that some P2P platform continuously make the new scheme, new business model. It's very good, and we support it very much. As business growing all the time, we are sure that there are many new business model, and then need funding. And the last about the guideline for PPR, rural banking, P2P lending. Last month, some P2P platform were invited joining the socialization of the guidelines. OJK issued guideline for cooperating between rural bank, PPR, and PPRS, and P2P lending. This line contains forms and the condition of the cooperation. The model of cooperation is channeling and referral. And I know that of the P2P platform understand this. But as you know that there is a restriction where the collaboration between banking and P2P lending cooperation, there is a limitation from banking regulation where they can only cooperate licensed P2P platform. So for the platform, for a while you have to wait for until you will get the permanent license from OJK. This is Pak Agus Tjandra. I'm back to you, and I hope that this can trigger our discussion today. Thank you, Pak.
Yes, great, Pak Munawar. So very insightful for your detailed information regarding lending ecosystem framework that you mentioned. There is 4 points that is very important, that government regulator, lender borrower, source of business such as just now you mentioned, AFPI and IDEA have collaboration for the P2P lending and e-commerce. And last is a business support like such QIC, digital signature. This 4 framework is very important actually for the inclusion of financial. So and once you mentioned that updating the collaboration between the BPR, Bank Perkreditan Rakyat, and P2P, this is also very great implementation to distribute the financial inclusion. So thank you very much for your insight that now we are how to regulate the system, that how to regulate the digital financial innovation for the fintech player in Indonesia. Pak Munawar, can you share your insight and information?
Regulate the digital financial innovation.
Yes. How you? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Pak. The P2P industry, because of innovation, its innovation is very different from the traditional financial industry like banking. as quote unquote. The strength of this industry lies in innovation. The OJK regulation must encourage innovation and must not destroy the innovation itself. So far, OJK has been strong with a prudential approach in its supervision. Supervision of the financial services industry is very strict, but for the industry, OJK implement a principle-based approach. We do not set regulation rigidly, but more flexible, especially on business practices and innovation. We ask the association, AFPI, to help OJK in supervising this industry from market conduct approach or perspective. We also encourage all P2P players to innovate, create new products and business model. As I mentioned before, our tasks are to ensure that P2P platform compliant and provide adequate protection for customer. And in regulating and supervising, we the interest of industry, the interest of customer, and the interest of our nation as well. This is a challenge for OJK because we have to make it balance. In the new OJK draft, we emphasize industry. We talk about the quality, industry quality of the platform, the quality of the consumer protection. If we talk about the quality of the platform, such as improving the quality of human resources, the scoring system, I mentioned how to enhance the scoring system because it will influence the level of interest rate. And we also support the P2P to enhance the quality of funding. We talk about the NPL and the capital, and also about the capital. Or okay, we set this provision onto the draft of a new regulation. We are still under criticism regarding to high interest rate, and we believe that with reliable credit scoring, as Pak Bambang mentioned, more this industry will be able to be applied the right or lower level of interest rate. We also focus on the quality of consumer service through increased transparency and consumer protection. OJK must pay sufficient attention to the quality of the customer protection because this is closely related to public trust. As you know that for the financial industry, trust is paramount important. This is Agus.
Okay, so great. So OJK is concerned in the protection and quality, right? And FP also become some network for OJK to distribute the information. And the most important is COC, ya, Pak Munawar, ya? Code of conduct that we have to follow. Yes, great, great. So how do you advise for fintech players to build the right financial system in the midst of the difficulties and challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic, this current situation, Pak Munawar? How?
Yes, Pak. We acknowledge that not only P2P platform get effective of this coronavirus, but also the user of this platform across the country. Our first response last year on April 2020, the early of this COVID-19 in Indonesia, we issued a letter to all of the P2P platform that they should give more attention and facilitate loan restructuring. As you know that the offering of the restructuring is on letters. We believe that this will help users in the pandemic. And meanwhile, to keep the fintech players to run their business, we encourage them to with the other financial institutions or other institution, either to become lender or to distribute on the national economic recovery. I know that some platform make collaboration with some banks to disperse pen funds. For increasing lenders' confidence to lend their money, we suggest the player, P2P player, to improve their risk management. We strongly encourage platform to enhance their scoring system and artificial intelligence (AI). Because, as you know, that credit risk may rise because of this pandemic, and we suggest platform to utilize optimally insurance coverage or guarantee to mitigate default risk that may happen on the lender.
Okay, thank you. Great. So, yes. So this is very important of the ecosystem, right, Pak? Last week we also have a meeting with you also from AFPI regarding for the KYC digital signature, insurtech, and everything. Yeah, so yes, this is correct. So that's why now we already invite for the expert people from Asdiri and BPS, yeah, from players also from Tara Light. Later we can discuss a lot about this point. But so that means the point is risk mitigation is very important. So credit scoring is also important. So this ecosystem we have to enhancing. So thank you very much, Pak Munawar. So we understand that the ecosystem of digital during this how to overcome this pandemic is very important. Thank you very much, Pak Munawar. So now we come to the e-commerce. Yeah, this is very important also. E-commerce, welcome to Pak Bimalaga. Pak Bimalaga is my old friend before I'm in e-commerce industry. Welcome you, Pak Bima.
Ya, welcome Pak Agus, apa kabar?
Baik. Yeah. And also congrats for our collaboration, Pak Bima. Ya, finally we collaborate together, AFPI and IDEA. Yes, during the pandemic. Yes, during the pandemic, Bank Indonesia prediction that the whole of the 2020 there's increased a lot and huge. There's about 429 trillion rupiah. So this is very amazing number during this pandemic is increasing. So how fintech lending increase the average purchase value and the frequency of transaction, Pak Bima? Can you share to us?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Agus, for your asking. I think my sound is clear because I think this is connection is not too good in here. But I'm trying to answer your question. The first, in the pandemic, we still increasing transaction of e-commerce, and I think fintech is also most important to support the e-commerce transaction. For example, we have like SME, they have a bunch like order. For example, maybe the mask, the hand sanitizer, and all kind of product to support the SME. After that, the SME also need the capital, right, to grow the product, to grow the supply. I think this collaboration can helping the SME to more growth during this pandemic, to helping SME handle the transaction. That's the most important. Before that, the research from Bank Indonesia, the data, the e-commerce still growth year on year is above 20%, I think, year on year. And we also have the Harbolnas, Hari Belanja Online Nasional, is 12.12. And last year, the Harbolnas is like 9 billion. But sorry, 2019 is 9 billion, but in 2020 the Harbolnas sales is almost 11 billion, 11.6 billion. So I think that's the increasing the transaction of the e-commerce. Then I hope this collaboration, not this is the beginner that we are collaboration. We still deep diving how we can collaboration more to support SME during this pandemic to handle the transaction e-commerce? Thank you, Agus.
Exactly, Pak Bima, exactly. So fascinated about the Harbolnas. I also purchased some in Harbolnas, Pak Bima. Yes, very helpful. Yes. So how is the surveillance system built from the collaboration fintech and e-commerce in maintaining consumer protection, Pak Bima? Can you share to us?
Yeah, sure. In e-commerce transaction protection, we have the rules. It's under Ministry of Trade. We call this is PP 80 2019. In the PP 80 about customer protection, they have a rule over there about maybe if the product can send to make sure the product is like when you read the description, the product must be same with the product that sent, something like that in the PP 80. So we have like a umbrella rule now. Maybe Pak Agus know the history of umbrella this rule. Finally, we have an umbrella rule for the e-commerce transaction is PP 80, and also we have a Permendak 50, Permendak 50 by 2020. So now in e-commerce we also have the umbrella rule, Agus.
Okay, so PP 80 is very important. So that's why Harbolnas increased a lot, Pak Bima, yeah. Wow, wonderful. So this very interesting that e-commerce in Indonesia is growing so fast. So thank you very much, Pak Bima.
Thank you.
So yeah, so this very nice hot topic right now. Yeah, welcome to Pak Sony Christian. Ya, apa kabar Pak Sony Christian?
Selamat siang, Pak Agus. Kedengaran ya, Pak?
Ya, dengar Pak Christian.
Ya.
So, recently Bank Jago is very hot, Pak. Yesterday close is 9,000 to 700, and now little bit drop Pak. Maybe can give us the insight, but later, Pak, in the next session. This is very interesting topic, Pak. So, digital banking and fintech, friend or foe, Pak? This is very interesting. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, good morning, everyone. The Honorable Pak Munawar and all the OJK leaders, Pak Adrian Gunadi and all the association leaders, all panelists, my colleagues and all friends from the fintech platforms. It is an honor for me to come back to the AFPI event and meet all of you. I wish all of us health and in a very well condition. Thank you, Pak Agus. So, the digital technology actually has disrupted all sectors, including financial and banking industry. To stay relevant, banks not only need to quickly adapt, but also need to fundamentally change, I think. Whether it is a paradigm shift, the way of working, decision-making process, and the courage to break normality in a very creative way. Many say that fintech and bank are competing head-to-head. Some conclude that fintech is a serious threat for banks, eroding the bank's business. But if you're looking back, this assumption actually began when digital technology disrupted sectors. The phenomenon of digital disruption across all fields, including the banking industry. Digital technology enables non-bank financial institutions to carry out some banks' functions, such as digital payments and including fintech lending. Banks respond to the digital disruptions in many ways. What we in Bank Jago are doing is quickly adapting and transforming. We must be able to serve our customers like fintech standard, which is fast and simple. So after going through the adaptation and transformation process, we see that fintech is not a threat
a strategic partner instead. And we believe that we can grow and develop together. Fintech and bank actually can complement each other. So this is obviously a friend, not a foe.
Okay, right. So the point is disruption, Pak, yeah. And then the Bang Jago always jago, Pak. So the most point is the fast and simple, yeah. Strategic partnership. This is the key point of Bang Jago become Bang Jago. Okay, understand. So how digital lending impact the changing landscape of the financial inclusion? Can you share to us, Pak?
Yes, we believe that technology will not only provide a new experience, but will also widen the reach out, create equality, and improve welfare. This is in line with what the government's vision to create a digital economy as a new source of growth and support the agenda of OJK to speed up financial inclusion. Financial industry in Indonesia still has a large room to grow. A number of adult citizens who does not have a bank account, the ratio of total loans to GDP is still low. On the other hand, the number of smartphone users and the use of data increasing. Bang Jago sees the largest opportunity is on the micro and the small and medium entrepreneurs, retail and mass market by optimizing technology. COVID-19 pandemic, we know, has created social distancing, a less face-to-face contact, and a new habit in the society to avoid crowds. Due to the change of the behavior, producers and business people are also changed. Those who really rely on outlet networks, they're now starting to aggressively maximize their digital channel. Therefore, besides for the individual consumers, we also design our digital bank to fulfill the producer side. So this is to support the financial inclusions for the small business.
Okay, great, Pak. I also agree, Pak. So that means during the pandemic, so there is some changing of the behavior. So Bang Jago can see the opportunity there. So great, Pak. I agreed for that one. So how to build the collaboration between the digital banking and fintech, Pak? Can you share to us some insight?
Bang Jago believes one of the key success factors to success as a digital bank is a collaboration with the ecosystem and a strategic partnership with some other financial institutions. This will create a truly strategic collaboration to the next level. As I said before, we believe fintech and bank can grow together because fintech and bank can complement each other. There are areas where fintech has limitations. For example, the ability of fintech to raise funds. Although fintech can raise funds from the individual lenders, but still they have a limit. In this context, banks have an advantage. On the other side, banks do not have the agility as fintech. So banks have, by understanding the both of weaknesses and strengths, bank and fintech can grow and develop together. Because when synergized, we can create a big impact. Most importantly, the goals of the bank and fintech should be the same. We both want to open widest possible access to finance, build a sustainable digital economy, and ultimately improve the lives of our people to a higher level. So here, Bang Jago has a collaboration also with some different types of fintechs. We do the channeling with some fintech lending. If I can name it, like the association members like Credit Pintar, like GoFin, Accelerang, and some more coming soon. So we also have collaboration with investment platform and risk management, such as BB, Online Pajak, Advanced AI, Henry is here, Peruri, and others. And we are also open to collaborating with Insurtech, for example, in the future. Investment companies, all platforms which can provide a life-centric solution. So later with the secure API connection, we can provide Jago's features in partners in fintech's platform or vice versa. Partners features and solution in our platform. Or we can create a new feature together. So all to create a sustainable digital economy and improve the lives of our customers together.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. I just got information that Pak Bima Laga from IDEA have an urgent matter. Thank you, Pak Bima. See you later for the next session, Pak. Ya.
Thank you all. Sorry, I have a meeting at 12 sharp. Thank you.
Okay. So back again to the Pak Sony. So the best point is the digital economy, Pak. Yeah, collaboration is the key point. Thank you very much, Pak, for the sharing the insight to us. Now we come to Pak Henry Halim. Ya, selamat siang Pak Henry Halim.
Halo, selamat siang Pak Dr. Agus. Bagaimana? Kedengaran suara saya, Dok?
Clear. Thank you very much. So that's as Pak Munawar mentioned, such a credit scoring is very important and significant for the fintech industry. What is the importance of the data analysis in fintech lending, Pak? Can you share to us?
Okay. First of all, in the terms of the data analytics, basically, when take a look on how the fintech lending is going, everything is moving very fast. So by the time that it goes very fast, everything need to go back into the level of data centric. So every single information, every single decision made need to have a very good underlying data below to actually make a decision whether a person need to be approved, not approved, or even we have a different offering to that person. So all of this goes back into what Pak Waman mentioned, is about on the risk mitigation level, about how we want to achieve the right decision with the lowest risk possible and all the acceptable risk. So we are not going to, the data should not actually make the decision to be very conservative, and it's also not supposed to actually make it to be very very free, very something that we cannot control. So the level of the data analysis is super important on how we want to control the risk inside of the fintech lending, especially in the level of the data itself. At this point, like Padino mentioned in the first panel about how does the alternative data can actually give can actually help the fintech lending, can actually help on how to grab a better perspective. So in here, the data analysis play a very big roles in terms of when we go talking about alternative data, there is a perspective where alternative data is something that are substituting the traditional data. While in the reality, the traditional data and the alternative data is something that are helping each other. They are actually complementing, supplementing each other to create a better risk mitigation to the people. So at the end of the day, on how this data analysis it is in the fintech lending, I believe that the alternative data and the traditional data is something that will work together. The perspective on how to see the data itself is also going to be very important in the data analytics. To actually, at the end of the day, there are many perspectives, but the most common one is something that we call as the credit scoring.
Oh, great, Pak. So that's mean important of the data analysis is can help to reduce and to minimize the risk. So how to create the stability in Indonesia's financial sector with the multi-platform detection, credit score, fraud score, and multi-platform score, Pak? Can you share to us?
Hello?
Hello? Yeah. Can you hear me, Pak Henry?
Yeah, it was breaking up a little bit. Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit, but I get the gist of the question, Pak. So basically, yes, in this perspective, right? For us to create a stable perspective in the finance level, we need to see in two areas. First one is how historically we can detect whether this person is something that we want to include in our portfolio or not. And the second one is about how we actually predict the quality of this person. So when you mention a multi-platform detection, or maybe some kind of another negative check, maybe APU PPT, or even all those maybe slick negative check, or there are a lot of other negative check that are available in the market right now. The way we see it is, first we need to make sure that this person does not have the historically does not have any bad attitude detected. There is no some kind of red flag happens here. Okay, so I know that there are some perspective when maybe people can tolerate. They know that, oh, this person has like historically DPD, they are between 30 days to 60 days. This is something that they okay. The risk team said that okay, we can actually accept it. Now, so at the end of the day, this data support on the how the risk level that the P2p the fintech lending want to actually accept. At the end, but on the other perspective, they are more challenging is how we do the prediction. Here, the way that I see it is, the way that we see it is as on the level of 3 pillars of the financial self. First one is on the capability of that person to do a payment. Second one is on the willingness of that person to actually do the payment. And the last one is, does all the other people think that this person can do the payment? The reason why on this 3 pillar is to make sure that first we know he has the capability, like he applied for a 5 million loan, then he actually have the capability to install it for 3 times or to 5 times, and how much that this person needs to install each month. And then from that we need to know that if he able to pay, does this person is a person that are willing to pay the loan or not. And sometimes, and at the end of the day, the multi-platform predictive level is to actually see whether this person has the capability to pay 5 million. Is it only from one institution, or is it something that he is going to go and borrow another 5 million from all the other institutions and actually blow up the ticket size that he actually that he take care on his own self? So to create this stability, the alternative data play a very strong in terms of how we look person not only on the current existing financial and also income, but also from all their behavior on how they actually use a platform, maybe an e-commerce platform, maybe a social media platform, on how active they are, how their phone is actually reflected into their personality, and we actually we have to be able to actually map it into how does that resulted in this score.
Yes, thank you very much. So that's meant to create the stability in Indonesia financial sectors. That the key is you make 2 points that historical. You read the historical. How is he? Who is he? And predict. So predict is very important. So to get the better result. Yeah, Pak Henry. Yeah. Wow, wonderful. Yeah. So how do you feel the interaction of the fintech in the helping Indonesians, especially those who are unbanked and deserve to get access to affordable and fair financial today?
In the way that I see it, fintech is actually the only one who are having the not having it was like have the flexibility to actually penetrate to all these banks. Talk about banking industry. Yeah, we go to the banking because when they want to give a loan, they want to give they want to start disbursing to these people. They need to their risk management is all about like. What is their historical with us? Can we actually find them in Slack? What is all the does this person check all the boxes we have? If he is not, then we are not going to give it to this person, especially when this person does not have the data. Same with the multi-finances, because they are also tapping into more or less the same data. At the end of the day, the perspective that they see is only the perspective for the bank population. Is always going back again to the bank and to the bank. So there are people, these unbanked people who are not exactly going into the penetrated by this banking, are not exactly having a deposit account that are going to contribute into their scores. has no fighting chances to get a loan, or maybe like the fighting chances is going to be a lot longer. But by the time that fintech came, and fintech are willing to go into a lower size, a short-term tenor, and then willing to utilize all this alternative data and then see things from a different perspective, these unbanked people start to have a better chances to get a disbursement. And I believe fintech lending is one of the critical factors that are actually moving the financial inclusion. I really like when Pak Munarman was mentioning about how the fintech and BPR are going to collaborate. When BPR are having a lot of localized approach, and they have all these data that are going to be mined from the society, from the community, together with how fintech actually do their risk assessment, how fintech make an approach on the disbursement. This can help all these unbanked people. This can actually give a bigger inclusion on the population of the unbanked itself.
Okay, great. So very clear, yeah. So that means during the digital, just like Pak Sony mentioned, that the digital economy very important. So that means today how to access to the unbanked and deserve is currently not so much problem. Okay, thank you very much, Pak Henry, for your sharing. So this point now we come to Pak Robert Rompas. Nah, this is very important nih, Pak Rompas. Welcome you, Pak Rompas. Selamat siang. Apa kabar?
Baik-baik, Pak Agus. Selamat siang. Terima kasih.
Yeah. So I heard and I see the video in China. Police can catch the criminal within 5 or 7 minutes. Using the AI. Now, this point is very important, Pak. So, the intelligence partner for biometric eKYC, Robert Rompas, is very expert. So, can you share how AI biometric matching system protect the fintech lending from fraud, Pak?
Oke, Pak Munawar, selamat siang, Pak Munawar. Selamat siang, teman-teman semua. Let me introduce our product first. We are one of the biometric company in Indonesia. We are not the one, but we are one of the most and more company and just give the services in the biometric system. But also we are already used by the Polri. They use our technology and system to make it easier when they trying to identify some of the victim on the location and some of the people who's doing the criminal. Then 2008 we are starting to build our system. And then first we are using in the Polri place, but we know that the 2018 we are starting starting to be the digital when the Pak Jokowi is our president said we are coming in the revolution industry 4.0. So we are looking for this opportunity to come and insight to the financial inclusion. I mean, we are built the system to support our partner to be the digital one. SLRI now is already also registered in OJK under the group IKD, and also we are already have the access from the Dukcapil. So for the legal standing, I mean, we are completed for all the legal standing to serve all of you, the platform in the AFPI member of the fintech, and also for the banking member. where if they want to do the transformation to the digital one, we are now already can surface and support your process. There are one of our technology is using the biometric to be the system to assist and help us to know about our customer. Then from the picture, I mean the face recognition and also the fingerprint. I mean the biometric is the not only the face. There are some of the biometric in our body. It's one of the face. Another one is the finger, and also the voice, the gesture, and anyone. But in Indonesia, I think it's a very useful if you are using the face recognition. Is why? Because the customer, most of the customers is already have the camera and the smartphone, so they can use the smartphone to get the picture, then transfer to the P2p platform, and giving the make the verification through our system in biometric matching system. So we can get the score after you give the picture, and not only the picture, but you can give also the NIK, because in our services we can also check the NIK, the name, place of birth, and also the address, and also we give the score for the simulation of the face from the digital onboarding one to the Dukcapil as data resources, data source. Okay. So we not give you the identification, we just give you the verification services. It's a true or false services. Because why? Because we are also know that we are preventing the data from our customers. So not all the information we can give in share. We just give you true and false verification, because the system is only do the verification, not for the identification. For identification, we give to the police and also another state government and organization.
I see. So it's been only based on the data EKYC and the face recognition, like liveness detection. But yeah, so yeah. So fintech and AI balances risk mitigation and open space for the innovation. How can the synergy between the supporters become an active collaboration to support financial inclusion through fintech, Pak? Can you share? We are
already in the industry, Pak Agus. We are most of our fintech and also the bank is become to our customer now. Based on the POJK 77, that there is the ecosystem in there. One of the part of the ecosystem is the KYC. KYC using the eKYC, because the POJK said all the thing is must be the seamless transaction. So we only the one of the part of the ecosystem, but we are so very important is because why? Because if in the first thing we know that the borrower, or I mean the customer using the fake ID or using the anything for not original ID, we can stop the process, so we can make the efficiency for all the process. We cannot do the digital signature, we cannot need for the scoring, but we can stop the process in the earlier and using our technology.
Oh, so great, Pak. So very important. Asli RI, Pak. Asli Republik Indonesia, luar biasa namanya.
No, Pak. Rancangan Indonesia, Pak.
Rancangan Indonesia, luar biasa.
Pak. In our company, Not the Republic.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Robert. Very insightful. And the last, Bu Sarli, ini very important ini, Bu Sarli. Welcome you on board ya. Selamat siang, Bu. Can you Thailand is one of the largest P2P Indonesia, and your tagline is "Kami hadir untuk bisnismu." You come for business, so very great tagline. So how to close the gap fintech collaboration, Bu, overcome the obstacle to a symbiotic relationship, Bu. Can you share to us?
Sure, Pa. First of all, I would like to thank you for moderating this session. I think it's an important session, and also for AFPI for inviting me to speak at this event. And I also want to give warm regards and welcome to the other panel members that I respect very much. Pak Munawar dari OJK, Pak Bima unfortunately udah cabut dari IDEA, Pak Sony dari Pak Bang Jago, Pak Henry dari BPS, dan Pak Robert dari Asliri. I guess if you look at the panel members itself, it's absolutely what the ecosystem of P2P representing. Maybe before I get started to talk about the symbiotic relationship of the ecosystem, let me just go back about a year and a half ago where I was not part of Tara Light. I was actually part of PwC as a market observant, where I co-authored a fintech lending a white paper that looks at the gap in Indonesia when it comes to access to credit. And what we found during that time is that there's a significant access gap in terms of access to credit for both individuals as well as MSME. And I think it's about greater than 70%. I think 71% for individual and 74% for MSME. And that was happening during the strong growth of Indonesian GDP, which is maybe around 5% at that time. Now, post-COVID or during COVID that we're experiencing, our GDP is probably hovering around 2%, right? I would guess that that gap is probably further accentuated during this COVID period, right? The banks are getting a bit more cautious about their lending, and at the same time, the individuals as well as the MSME are being impacted by COVID. And this is the reason why that collaboration, that symbiosis relationship between the ecosystem player is that much more important during this period. Those kind of relationship already existed, but it's that much more crucial and critical for the players to be in that collaboration relationship at the moment. And this is specifically for us to move towards innovation and transformation for the industry. So for example, I think if I were to give an example for Pak Robert from Asliri, which we are using as well, during this period, if it weren't for mungkin Pak Robert's solution, it's going to be super difficult for us to do underwriting, right? To do KYC. But the fact that the collaboration that we've had with Asliri has enabled us for doing work from home environment for our team to be able to onboard, new borrowers into the market, to evaluate, their identity, as Pat Robert has discussed earlier, for us to be able to say, okay, we can still lend with confidence to specific people during this period of COVID when, all the infrastructures are being challenged, right? And then the collaboration that I want to talk about also is about data, right? With regards to alternative data that Pak Henry was talking about. It's that much more important for us. And I think I would like to add also the role of OJK and AFPI in this case with the birth of Pusdafil and Fintech Data Center. Those type of data are what is that much more crucial during this period for us to be able to differentiate who to lend and how much to lend, right? Because during, I would say, economic growth, right, during 2019, we felt that we can lend to, a lot of people because everybody is, have good employment, their businesses are growing. But during COVID, this is where their agility or viability are being tested, whether it be individuals or whether it be MSME, right? So then we would very much be needing that access to the data that we talk about, the alternative data that Pak Henry is providing, the data that other peer-to-peer are reporting into Pusdafil as well as Fintech Data Center. Those data will tell us in the most recent time during this COVID period, are these borrowers that are currently applying to our platform still a viable borrower for us to lend further? Because the one thing that we don't want is to be, for them to be gali lobang to tutup lobang, right? So that's one of the things that we were trying to avoid. And I think Pak Munawar talk about the 4 pillars of the ecosystem. Mungkin I have a slight variation, tapi memang similar deh with the Pak Munawar's pillars of ecosystem. I would say it's the lenders, right? And then these are the banks. So Bank Jago, we very much in tune with what you're saying earlier, that we are not full at all. Instead, we look at the banks that we have collaboration right now as being critical for us to still provide that funding to the borrowers, because the demand is still there, but we want to make sure that the supply is also available. And for us to be able to provide that supply, we need to convince the banks, the financial institution, that the data that we are looking at, the identity of the borrowers are the right risk factor for them to accept. So I think that's the reason why during this period of COVID, that innovation and transformation is critical, and we need that collaboration.
Okay, exactly. Thank you very much for the detailed information. That the ecosystem is very important, yeah, Bu Sarli, yeah. So like just the credit scoring, KYC, digital signature. How do you think how important of the digital signature, Bu Sarli? Can you share to us?
Very much so, because I think in Indonesia, obviously legality is very important. And because a lot of people are still, I would say, illiterate, right? Some people are still illiterate about what they're signing up for. I think that formality of using DigiSign or Privy or other digital electronic signature sort of get people to stop and sort of think first before they do that, finalize the application. It's like, hey, you are signing something, because obviously digitalization and fintech took away that, signing in front of a notaris or signing in front of a bank representative, right? Therefore, it is important for us to have that digital signature as a formality to get people to think, hey, you are responsible to pay back of the loan that you are asking for.
Got the point. Just now you mentioned about the ecosystems and collaboration. Can you share a little bit to us, what are the challenges for the fintech today in building good collaboration with all stakeholders, especially during a pandemic?
Sure, Pak. Mungkin the challenges that I would highlight are the following. The first one that I still want to make sure that we stay vigilant, right, is around the illegal fintech players. Illegal fintech players are still around, probably not as much as they were in 2019, right, during that mass of peer-to-peer, but at the same time, they are still around. And they can provide significant trauma, maybe for the consumer, right? And at the same time, the regulators. The regulators are also hearing all these complaints and have to take action. Well, from a legal fintech player perspective, we are very much in support of the principle-based regulation, and we do not want to go into the very tight regulation, because we are still in a growing state, right? So we don't want activities by the illegal fintech players to be driving. Regulation, right? So we have to be cautious and stay vigilant as a player. Another one that I think is still an issue is about the education and the literacy of the customers, right? When we talk about MSME and individuals, especially outside of the urban area, yeah. So what I mean by that, for example, in rural area, somebody can just be like, oh, can I borrow your KTP? And they can just give it away. And then next thing you know, they're being blocked because it's been used by someone else, right? So for us to be able to educate, hey, by the way, please be careful about giving your KTP to anybody, even your relatives, and asking for what purpose. And also understanding the consequences of not paying and delaying in payment. I think that those type of education is still very much needed in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing, Shirley. Okay, there is one question from the audience. maybe can you help me for all speakers here? There is a question. We are seeing many tech unicorn like Gojek, Grab, Shopee acquiring banks. How would digital bank leverage ecosystem within their platform, even if they have already had P2P giving out loans in place? Or how would banks synergize with other services providers on the ecosystem? Maybe Pak Sony, can you help me for this question? Or anyone? Pak Sony, siap Pak?
Yes.
Pak Sony?
Yes, Pak.
Go ahead, Pak.
Yeah, in my opinion, Pak, running a bank is very difficult. It's not easy to running a bank. So even all the colleagues from e-commerce or other fintech would like to have a bank, they still have to follow all the very tight regulation from our central bank and from the OJK. So it is not easy. However, what we call like this is the digital itself is absolute things. We cannot change anything in the future. So I think also very good for us if the e-commerce colleague is already having a bank, because you know they prepare for the future. And I think that's all will happen, Pak, in the next 2 3 years. And this is very interesting to see the landscape of Indonesian, you know, financial industry will be very interesting in the next 2 3 years.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Pak. Okay, so time is up. Actually, we should have a lot of time to share, and maybe for the next webinar. So I capture all. So the key point is how to collaborate, how to make the ecosystem, like Pak Munawar just now mentioned, the frameworks that have to have some point of the digital products and the players and the regulator and others. So this is framework of the ecosystem, and collaboration is very important. So before we finalize this panel 2, I would like to have each other to give closing statement. Start from Pak Munawar. Can you share your closing statement? The stage is yours.
Thanks, Pak. Pak Agus, I had notification, my bad connection. I am so sorry. I hope now it's clear. Okay, according to McKinsey's research, 30% of global revenue will be generated from ecosystem. P2P player must be able to optimize the ecosystem and always create new business models and new products. And we, OJK, always facilitate innovation through a principle-based approach. And as a regulator, in the fierce competition, we ask P2P platform to always comply with all regulation and be able to adapt to changing regulation. That's Pak.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Munawar. Very insightful. Pak Sony, can you share to us your closing statement?
Yeah, so this is very obvious that fintech is not foe. Fintech is our friends and even our strategic partners, and we would like to have a collaboration with all fintechs, including the fintech lending, including the investment, you know, risk management, and all type of fintechs. Also for OJK, I really hope Pak Munawar and the team can support us. So fintech and bank can have a very good collaboration, Pak. So if you can make a very good, you know, regulatory systems between fintech and bank, that can be very helpful, Pak. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Pak Sony. Pak Harim, can you share your closing statement, Pak? Closing.
Okay. Baik. So as we can see that data analytics is one of the most underlying all the foundation that we can actually move forward on how to do the risk mitigation. But how make the data analytic will become the strong point, the one that are actually supporting all the ecosystem in the long run on how we can help and grow the whole industry, the whole fintech lending, and at the end of the day, how we can utilize not only traditional but also the alternative data. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the most beautiful statement closing from Bu Sarla, Bu, sharing, Bu.
Okay, thank you. So maybe I would like to just remind everybody that the collaboration across the ecosystem that we are doing right now is not a short-term situation, right? Long-term situation. So let's all continue to work together and looking at it from a long-term relationship perspective on how we can all contribute to increase the credibility as well as the growth of the fintech lending industry. Now, I think one of the things that I would like for us to continue to support is obviously the Pusdafil, because I think that will have a huge implication on the viability of the fintech lending industry. The other one is probably for the regulators. I think I'm grateful for the principle-based approach of OJK that has taken so far, and I think I look forward to just looking at new regulation that will balance prudence as well as economic viability for the industry players. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much for all speaker wonderful here. I'm head of the ecosystem in AFPI. I do hope we can have next session together to hand in hand to build our industry in new future. Please don't hesitate to contact AFPI for Indonesia Luar Biasa. Thank you very much, everyone. I return to MC, Bu Lisa. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Terima kasih.